Hey everyone, I'm Alexis the Ego Queen, and today, I need to apologize. Yep. I was kind of nearly entirely completely wrong about the Custodians. So I do want to start off this video by saying I was wrong. I did do several things in my last video where I said that they sucked, that after playing them for 15 plus games now, I kind of take that back, and I do want to apologize if I ever offended any of the fanboys of the Adeptus Custodes. So I do want to start out by saying that. They have really good survivability. I wasn't expecting that, especially with their banner. Their mobility is actually really good if you use a couple of stratagems. Their damage output, though questionable, is almost reliable. That's the one thing that I still stand behind. And I just want to overall say that I was wrong about quite a few things in the last Codex. Granted, I still don't think the Codex was worth its price at $40 for an 80-page book. And I know a lot of people jumped on me for that one, but for $10 more, I get 280 pages with the Space Marine Codex. So that's what my main complaint was. And yeah, I gotta apologize for that. Now, I'm not gonna say they're a tier 1 meta army that is ungodly overpowered, because they're not. They are not a tier 1 army. They're not a tier 2 army. They're in the tier 3. They're in the fun tier. And I'm going to keep moving my hair because my hair keeps tilting slightly in front of my head, and I should be wearing, you know, like, whatever. So, after playing them for quite some time, I want to go over my list before I actually get into this video. Like, yeah. So, the list that I'm currently running includes, and I got it on my other screen right here, so sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. There we go. It includes a battalion detachment plus an outrider detachment, so here goes. Alright, so I have in my battalion detachment 2 shield captains on Dawn Eagle jet bikes with hurricane bolters. Extremely effective, extremely mobile, especially in combination with their stratagems and their warlord trait and their relic. It makes them extremely good and really effective, to the point where he's almost an auto-include into other Imperial armies. And I'm really sitting there because he's 160 points for being amazing. Effective close-range shooting, effective combat. Not too effective damage output, so you do have to be careful with that. You have to pick and choose his targets very well. If he gets bogged down by infantry, he will eventually go down. But, that being said, he's really effective at clearing out some infantry and then slamming into a tank. His strength 6, strength 7 weapon, depending on what you give him, or the relic that you give him, is really good at killing tanks with 5 attacks, maybe 6. Depending on what the rest of your army is putting out. I run 2 of them as HQ, almost mandatory in every list. Then I go down to my Custodian Guard squad, which I put 2 of these big squads, 2 of these squads in Deep Strike Reserve, using from Golden Light They Come. Oh, by the way, the shield captain needs the stratagem winners of the blood games. That way he becomes far more effective. So my Custodian Guard come down to 3 troops, and that includes 2 spears and 1 sentinel blade with Storm Shield. The Storm Shield absorbing all of these shots and everything that would normally kill a Custodian outright. This doesn't mean, however, that a Melta squad of, say, Sisters of Battle, Space Marines, or las cannons from across the field, or any type of special weapons won't just blow through them and kill them. It's just that this is the most effective way that I've found running them. So moving on from that, I am running the Terminators, and I do want to get a bigger squad of Terminators. I do want to make the Alaris Terminators go up to a unit of 5, so that they can separate during the next movement phase once they come down from Golden Light They Come. And they're extremely useful and very hard for an opponent's army to kill, especially once they split up. It makes it so target priority becomes a huge factor. And each one of them can do a heroic intervention if your warlord is being attacked using another stratagem or another thing that I might be misquoting it right now, but I know that they are really effective now because I've started running them now. Granted, I only have 3 and I want to get 2 more. Rock on. Anyway, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry. I'm running them with just axes because I kind of like the axe. It's really effective at killing bigger and tougher infantry, wounding easier. I use these guys for killing Terminator units. Well, anything in this army can kill a Terminator unit. Terminators are terrible this edition. The Eldar Terminators, on the other hand, are pretty decent, being very tough, very tanky, and having multiple wounds. And being able to split up is really, really, really effective. So I do want to take back what I said about them as well. I was wrong on them. I was wrong on 90% of this army, including some of the lore aspects, which I do want to get into. It's tea, don't worry, I don't drink soda. Now, moving on, I'm running a big, gigantic squad of Dawn Eagle jet bikes. Arguably the best thing in their Codex. And when they come down from Golden Light, it comes. They get all of those rapid fire shots. You split them up and you just butcher infantry. Or you can do what I like to do and take a separate detachment of... Oh, what is the HQ detachment that I can never remember the name of? Supreme Command Detachment. And you just take four of these guys. And they're really, really, really effective. They get more attacks, more defense, more mobility. Well, not really more mobility. They just get more attacks and more wounds, making them extremely effective. Also, the one thing that you gotta keep in mind is the entire army, on average, has a 4-up invo save. I still include the sword and board in my Guardian squads just because I really like the extra survivability of a 3-up invo. It's really, really, really effective. The bikes themselves are extremely good. I also give to the captain, which I was supposed to grab my Codex and keep it right here and actually be able to show you, but I give him the 3-up invo as well with the one relic where he gets the invo save plus the reroll charge distance. That's huge. My hair is like really staticky right now and it's So, before I move on, I do want to apologize for saying that they sucked. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I also did say in my last video that there are female custodians, and I do want to apologize. There are not currently. And I do say currently because we have been seeing GW kind of push a little bit more towards almost female equivalents with the Fabius Bile books. And now that the Thousand Sons have captured custodians, see... the Thousand Sons Codex. They ambushed them and captured them. That is the 8th edition Codex. It is likely that we will see chaos versions of Terminators of these guys in the future. So I think that that's something fun to look forward to. Although after reading all of the fluff and everything, I still think that the same process could be done to make a female custodian. That is just the lore that I am using to bring my old chapter master Betty White from last edition. If you guys don't know, or you're fans from early on when I started the channel in 7th edition, you'll remember a character that was really powerful in 7th edition. A character that had a Storm Shield / Shield Eternal, depending on what chapter tactic you took, Iron Hands chapter tactics, Gorgon's Chain if you didn't take the Shield Eternal, depending, again, a bike, and a Thunderhammer. And this character had a very funny name. And he was nigh invincible. Because he can regenerate wounds. You kept an apothecary near him to heal him and everything. And I named this character... I got my jet bikes and everything, and I named this character Betty White because, well, it never died. I thought it was a funny joke, and I'm still going to be bringing the Golden Girls Get it. They're all on jet bikes. They're the Golden Girls. It was a joke that I guess a lot of people didn't get when I did it on my channel again, because I haven't brought them out in a while. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, I don't want to make a big deal out of the whole could there be female custodian things, because more than likely we'll never see that, nor will we ever see female Space Marines in the lore. I personally stand against the inclusion of female Space Marines, as I see them as a little bit redundant, as we have the Sisters of Silence and we have the Sisters of Battle, which are both equivalently, well, I don't want to say equivalent fighting forces, because the Sisters of Battle outnumber the Space Marines like a bazillion to 12, and the Sisters of Silence only number in the thousands, or tens of thousands. I forget. They're a standing army, though. I think both of those factions are way too cool to just go, oh, we made female Astartes, so now they're pointless. That's my personal opinion on it. I've made a video about this where I talked about Feminist 40k. I don't really want to go down this line, so I'm just going to end it there. Watch that video if you want to see my thoughts on that. See, or hear my thoughts on that. Whatever. Anyway. The Custodians did finally get their update. So now we can move into the actual bulk of this video. These were not included, unfortunately, in the Codex. So we do have downloadable free rules, which they are beta rules. And most people that are going to be using them are... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry. So. Let's take a look at the community page and then take a look at the new units and the beta rules that are coming out for them. So we're going to start with the community page. Now, I do have my good buddy Corvus with me to read over a lot of this while I interject and, well, kind of annoy the piss out of him. So, what we're looking at right here is basically them saying, hey, you know all of that stuff that we didn't include in the Codex? Well, here it is. Oh, by the way, there's an FAQ that doesn't answer the one question that everybody wants to know, which is about this Land Raider. Like, why doesn't the Land Raider have the 5-up invo save, and can I take the Land Raider from the index with this army? Personally, I don't think you can, because the Custodian Guard Squad and the Dreadnought and the Land Raider have all been reprinted with the exact same name and different rules. Personally, I don't think you can anymore because you have to use the most up-to-date rules. That being said, GW has said that you can use anything in the indexes. So it's really hard to stay balanced on this. There's not really much answered in this immediately. It's just that they're looking for constructive criticism. They're not looking for you to say that their tanks look very phallic and very hilarious looking. They're not looking for you to say that their bikes are kind of funny looking, or that their dreadnoughts look amazing. They're looking for constructive criticism based around the actual rules and FAQs and everything that they released for this. So I think this is kind of cool. I do want the dreadnoughts. The tanks I'm a little bit meh about because I could just bring Devastators and do the exact same thing, which is what I've been doing. Anyway, so we do get to see that they're going to be bringing the Sakaran battle tank, a frontline tank of the Legio Custodes. Now, I think that's kind of neat because I kind of love this vehicle. It is one of my favorite vehicles. In fact, I actually have one, but it's not painted and I don't have it next to me because I was dumb and put it away. Oopsie daisy, my bad. So I think this is kind of a cool addition. I am wondering, however, if they're going to have the relic rule, which would be a little bit silly. So let's take a look at what each of the vehicles and dreadnoughts look like really quickly. In my opinion, all of their vehicles and things kind of look like Mustangs, like the old school Mustang look, the old muscle car look, and I really like them. So we do get a cool looking tank. 440k, which it's about time that it's coming out. So I'm really happy about this. Get some really cool paint jobs and everything on it, and all sorts of things. So I just want to go over them really quickly. This one looks a little bit silly in my opinion. It's a little bit too bulky and kind of meh with this little tiny gun on it. Alright. It also looks like the bar of soap, the deodorant bar that they had back in, what was it, Rogue Trader? Then you got this badass looking dreadnought, which for no reason reminds me of my buddy Kingpin. I don't know why, it just does, and I think that's awesome. Looks really cool. I'm really excited to actually get to play this dreadnought because if you don't know, I love dreadnoughts. I have, I think, 10 of them in my army for my Space Marines at this moment. I have one of them for my Custodians. Now, let's go over the FAQ basically doesn't really go over anything. We'll get to that. But let's get to the beta rules. And now I'm going to ask Corvus to join us really quickly while still grabbing the questions in the comment section. So, yeah.
Yo, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining me, Corvus.
No problem.
So we're going to skip like the, oh, here's the reason why this stuff is happening, and move on to the actual rules. So we're going to skip this little bit. If you'd like to leave feedback, here's the email address right here. So let's get into it. But just before we do that, I do want to admit something. I've never faced them in 30K, so I'm only looking at them from a 40K perspective. Okay? I've never faced them. I know that they are broken in 30K, but I don't have any experience against that. So I'm going to be looking at it as an 8th edition 40K unit only. So let's start with the unit point cost and go from there. Corvus says.
Okay. Unit points cost. The Contemptor Achilles. Models per unit 1 and 160 points blank. The next is the Contemptor Exemplar for 150 points. The Caladius Graph Tank for 220 points and the Coronos Graph Carrier for 285 points.
Now, Corvus, you've told me that these names are more German than anything else?
Or just my pronunciation.
Oh, just your pronunciation? Okay. So, yeah. I kind of like the way you pronounce them. It sounds like... It sounds better, in my opinion. So, as you can see, we have all the points cost of the base models, plus all of their unique war gear. We see the Lasblaze, and I know people are going to make jokes about that. The heavy flamethrowers, which are 17 points, which is average because that's their price in normal codexes. We have a new type of Stormbolter, so that's pretty cool, but it's 5 points instead of 2. I read that as something completely inappropriate, the Plasma Ejector. I read that as completely inappropriate. And various weapons and war gear. Then we go on to the melee weapons, which it's cool to see that Dreadnoughts can actually take 2 close combat weapons at 50 points, or 1 at 40 points. I think that's cool. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the first of the Dreadnoughts, the Achilles. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, sounds right.
Okay, so just like the regular Contemptor Dreadnought, it does have a depreciating movement stat, weapon skill stat, and ballistic skill stat. Its final is 4s, which is really, really, really effective. So this guy with 1 wound is still hitting fairly reliably. Really cool to know. Strength 7, toughness 7, pretty average. 12 wounds is pretty decent. 4 attacks is okay. Leadership is not important unless you're fighting up against something that's going to be messing with leadership and forcing you to take leadership saves. And a save of 2+, like all the other models in this army. It's a single model equipped with 2 Lastrum Storm Bolters and the Achilles Dread Spear. So we're going to go over those really quickly. Range 36 for a shooting attack for this thing. Heavy D3, this is like the giant polearm that he carries. Strength 9 AP -3, D3 damage. So again, we're seeing the whole D3 damage, which, if you guys know, I am not a fan of. I would rather a solid 2 damage than a D3. Then you have it in close combat where it's strength's 14, AP minus 3, D6 damage. Any damage roll less than a 3 are counted as 3s. Now this I actually like quite a lot. Then it has its Stormbolter. Rapid Fire 2, Strength 5, AP minus 1, 1 damage. Fairly common, fairly average. Now we're going to go over its rules really quickly. First one is the Lunge. In any turn in which this unit has successfully made a charge move, any melee attacks which hit on a 6 cause 1 mortal wound each, in addition to their usual damage. So with 4 attacks, you're probably only ever going to get 1 with this, so that's pretty cool, I guess. It's kind of neat. Atomic Shielding, it's a 5+. I mean, they could have just put the ages on it for the 5+, which would have then gone down to a 4+, which would have then been really good, but 5+ info save. Roll a d6. On a 6, it doesn't lose its wound. That's decent, not great. If this model is reduced to 0 wounds, it can explode. Yeah. And then we see the further war gear options for the Dread will be available alongside the unit's rules in the future of the Imperium armor volume. So now we do know that there will be more Imperial armor volumes for 8th edition. This can include brand new units or units that we don't have yet. Hopefully including some newer units. I kind of want Sisters of Battle and Sisters of Silence to stay Forge World, as they can get some cooler things. This might also include some of the new guard vehicles and everything that was spoiled at LVO. Pictures you can see on my Facebook, or you can literally just ask for them in my Discord. It has various faction keywords and regular keywords, bog standard. Next one is the same exact stat line except for the ballistic skills staying at 3+, which is extremely good for the Exemplar. It's a little bit, I think its power level is the same, and it stays with a, yeah, look at that. It stays with a 3+ ballistic skill. That's really nice. So that is reliable shooting when this thing has 1 wound left. So, the Contemptor Exemplar Dreadnought does not currently have a model. Now, this, I think, is a really cool sentence because it means that they are going to be doing rules for models that don't have... Rules for units that don't have models yet. I can talk, I promise. I am really good at talking. It's what I do for a living. I just don't do it that well. I kind of hope that they keep doing this in the future and push towards making new models and new data sheets and all sorts of new things, so every single army that you face in 40k, regardless of how many times you fought it, you always go up against a unique-looking army with unique vehicles, war gear, and characters. So it has its Dreadnought Close Combat Weapon. It's a Dreadnought Close Combat Weapon, a solid 3 damage. It has its Stormbolter, we saw that already. It has a Heavy Flamethrower, we know what that does. It has its Plasma Ejector. Of course, I had to make the joke. Which is a heavy flamethrower that is a plasma weapon. So heavy D6, strength 7, AP minus 3, 1 damage. This is extremely effective at cleaning up infantry. Essentially, the Custodians are going to have trouble popping tanks, but once that infantry is out in the open, they're going to eradicate them. Twin Laser Pulsars. Pulsars, heavy 2d3, so average is 4 shots. Strength 9, AP minus 3, d3 damage. Again, I'm not a fan of d3 damage, but it does have its effectiveness. Its options are to replace some of its other weapons, and can take one or both. Ooh. Or one of both of its weapons may be exchanged for the following. So that's cool to know. It can swap out its Stormbolters for heavy flamethrowers or plasma ejaculators. Has a 5-up info save. It has the doesn't lose wounds on a 6+. Blows up. Yeah. Again, it'll be in a future volume of Imperial Armor. Then we move on to the Gladius Grav Tank. So weapon skill 6+, so its weapon skill does not change, but its movement characteristic does and goes down to 8, which is still effective for retreating. Alright, so that's pretty good. Its ballistic skill goes down to a 4+, so it's still reliable at ballistic skill, and its attacks go down to 1, but it's a tank. No one cares about its attacks. Okay, so let's take a look at what this model is armed with. It's equipped with a twin... I have no idea how to even try to pronounce that without saying it wrong. Accelerator cannon. I'm just going to call it the I-accelerator cannon. And a twin Lastrum bolt cannon. You may only include one of these units per detachment in your army. So that is a cool rule. It is sort of unique. So I think that's pretty neat, actually. So for each detachment, you can take one of these, but you can't take like 3 of them right off the bat. It is a fast attack unit, so it doesn't really occupy any space aside from your jet bikes. Hover tank, measure from its hull, okay. Gravatic backwash. Models attempting to make melee attacks against this unit suffer a -1 to all hit rolls, maximum of 6+. It's kind of similar to the Repulsar's rules. Flare shields, it has a 6+ invo save. Enhanced Auramite alloys. Roll a d6 each time this model loses a wound. On a 6+, it does not. And Gravitonic Cascade. Jesus, trying to say these names really quickly is going to be difficult. I'm probably just going to write all of this stuff down and just be like, it has this. Like, I'm not going to try to say all of its names and everything, because that'll just confuse. I am so good at talking today. If it's reduced down to 6 wounds, it can explode on a 5 or 6. It will have more war gear in future volumes of Imperial Armor. Go figure. So the next Imperial Armor volume is looking like it's going to be heavily focused on the Custodians and all of this stuff released at LVO. So that's kind of cool. Now, I think we have one more vehicle to go through. The Cronus Grav Carrier. Thank you, brain. Movement goes down to 6 inches, so not that great if you get this thing down to 1 to 4 wounds, but it has 18, so it's gonna take a beating before it goes down. Ballistic skill goes down to a 4+, so still reliable, especially with that 2+ in the beginning. Attacks go down to 1, no one cares. Has 3+ save, so it doesn't have the 2+ save of the entire army. It has Twin A Lasblaze. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. It has both beam and burst mode. Ooh, this is actually interesting. So, again, it's kind of, in my opinion, an unreliable weapon with the D6 for the second one, but we'll get to that. So, at 36 inches, it's a heavy 2, or if you choose the beam mode, heavy 2, strength 9, AP -3, D6 damage. So, it's essentially a las cannon, which is, as you guys know, a decent weapon. So this thing is armed with essentially a 2-shot las cannon. That's awesome. Or you can go to burst mode, 24 inches, heavy D6, strength 5, AP -1, D3 damage. I personally would probably go for the beam mode over the burst mode and just pick out tanks and let the infantry be killed by the rest of the stuff in my army, like the the hurricane bolters off of the jet bikes. Then it has twin Lastrum bolt cannons, which we already saw at heavy 6, strength 6, AP -2, 1 damage. It has all of the other rules of all of the other tanks in this army, essentially. Actually, yes, it does. And it can also transport 6 Adeptus Custodes infantry models. Cool note on this. You can actually include Inquisitors in these transports, because they have by order of the Inquisition. But the transport capacity of this vehicle is only 6, so regardless of what that model is armed with, like the dude guy is armed with, he can get inside this tank. So a Loris Terminator can get inside this, Inquisitor in Terminator armor can get in this, or just a regular infantryman. Nope, bikes cannot get into it. And that is everything that we have for the Custodians. Also, the FAQ kind of answers a few questions that are blatantly obvious. I'm not really going to go over those because, as I said, it's blatantly obvious. So, let's get back to me. After going over all of this, I think it adds essentially what is desperately needed to this codex, which is long-range firepower at a semi-affordable point limit. Sorry. I promise I can talk. I'm just... this weather. Insert excuses here. Anyway, I do think that this army provides something that these units provide something that the army desperately needed. Close combat dreadnoughts. They needed those with the 3-up save once they get these sword and board, which I'm going to be running my dreadnoughts with, and I'm going to be using from Golden Light They Come to throw them at my opponent as quickly as possible, while simultaneously deploying my Custodians in the back line, and maybe even some of the tanks in the back line, while I from Golden Light They Come and Deep Strike in the Loris Terminators. The army is going to be effectively a glass cannon that can actually survive quite a bit. So it is going to take multiple units to take down the Custodians, which is fitting for their lore. I think I'm going to be pushing more towards Custodians in the future. I'm really enjoying their playstyle, and I kind of really like them. They're just pretty fun. So, as we were going over this, we had quite a few questions, I'm hoping. So, Corvus, if you'd like to read some of the questions, now's the time.
Yeah, we have one question. What do you think about Chaos-modified Sisters of Battle conversion? Cool or nah?
Definitely cool. One of my fans recently sent me a Mariel Sabathiel that they made themselves. And it is going to be the front runner and always, well, not always the warlord, but it's going to be definitely included in my army, and I'm going to be doing some Fallen Sisters in my Slanesh / Chaos Space Marine army. So I think, personally, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to add about all the Custodes stuff, every single entry in this preview is limited to 1 per detachment. Every single one.
Yep.
Not just one tank.
Yeah, everything was actually limited to 1. So you do have to take multiple detachments to get multiple things. And I guess that's to show off that they're so scarce and rare and there's not too many of them left. Even though they could just build them again. But anyway, I digress. It is cool to actually see these guys finally coming to the tabletop. It also means that I don't have to buy that much. So, what other questions did we get?
Sadly, no other questions right now.
Oh, we didn't get too many questions? Hang on, I will go through this really quickly. Boop.
And there's one coming in.
Alright, what is it?
I have one question. What do you think of the Custodes armor compared to Chaos? And by that I mean war engines.
So, comparing the Custodian vehicles to the chaotic war engines of the Chaos Legions, I honestly would go with the Chaos vehicles over the Custodian vehicles. A Las Predator will make short work of most of the Custodian vehicles in 1 to 2 rounds of shooting, where they don't have a reliable damage output to actually kill a Predator, for instance, in 1 round of shooting. Although if they do add in some things like the Sakaran battle tank, on the other hand, then it's going to be Sakarans versus Sakarans, or the other demon engines versus the other demon engines. They also didn't include the jets or the new aircraft that the Custodians have, and they left a lot of things in Forge World only, but this could just be a preview of all the stuff that's going to come. Overall, I would hands down give it to the Chaos Space Marines for having better vehicles than the Custodians. And I know that's going to tick somebody off. For reliable damage output, that is.
Good, good. And another question. Are Chaos Custodes possible?
So, in the lore, as it stands right now, in the 8th edition Thousand Sun Codex, Armin did capture some Custodians. Can they fall to Chaos? Probably not. But everything over time can be corrupted. That is one of the golden rules of Chaos. So I want to say no, but that doesn't mean that somebody like Fabius Bile, if he got a hold of a Custodian and discovered how it was made using biomancy, surgery, and we do know that the Custodians are not augmented, but they are done up by biomancy and surgeons. So, granted, they're not augmented, as in there's nothing implanted into them. They are just changed using magic. If Fabius Bile figured this out, he could then make something of equivalent to the Custodians. Now, the Custodians themselves, they bear no resemblance to Space Marines or to, like, the Primarchs, for instance. They're a different stage of human evolution, is what I think the Emperor was going with. Now, keep in mind, that's a theory. That's my theory. But they are not like the... Now, here's the actual lore thing. The Space Marines themselves are made through augmentation, gene enhancement, and all sorts of insert random bullcrap here that makes them shark people, or wolf people, or vampires, or angels, or whatever nonsense flavor of Space Marine you want. The Custodians, on the other hand, are strictly human. They don't have anything implanted into them. So, and they're fiercely loyal. And if Dracnian himself couldn't possess a Custodian, though he didn't try, I honestly don't think that a Custodian could fall to Chaos. I mean, they were literally fighting billions upon billions of demons in the webway, and not one of them was corrupted. They did fall, but none of them were corrupted. So, a Chaos Custodian equivalent might be possible. But a Chaos Custodian? No. As of right now, at least. Now somebody's going to be like, well, actually, Alexis, in book 35 of the Thousand Suns, it says right here that they are actually Chaos Custodians. And to that, I'm just going to be like, God damn it. Yeah, so that stuff. I'm going through the comment section myself as well to see if there are anything else that, would you guys eat Nurgle soup for $100? Yeah, I would try it. I would at least try it. I'd like to see some viewer thoughts on the Thousand Suns Codex. In looking at the Start Chaos, and I'm looking to Start Chaos, and I always loved the look of the gold and blue. Thousand Suns are actually pretty good. Watch the one battle report. The one guy that I fought against, he has an amazing Thousand Sun army, and I really like it. He also tortures me by constantly putting Magnus in the background of all of my battle reports. And I love him for it because it's really funny. As a Chaos player, I want to hate those vehicles, but they look so damn cool. They do look really cool. Oh wow, we didn't actually have too many comments. So yeah, with that, if you guys have any last minute questions, please let me know. I will be ending this stream very shortly. Mostly because I want to eat breakfast and go do my taxes. Because I'm an adult. Can like a Terminator go toe-to-toe and outpace a Howling Banshee? Or do they just face tank it until they kill it? Terminator armor is surprisingly slow, even for a Space Marine. So think of it as having like 3 times the reaction speed of a normal human instead of like 7 for a Space Marine. A really good example of this is if you watch, if you read the Dawn of War comics, they show how a Howling Banshee can actually dance around a Space Marine. And Howling Banshees do literally dance around bullets. So it is really hard for them to kill it, but one of the things that the Space Marines tend to do is tank a hit and then catch them. So yeah. Did you get your new phone? I have it. I got it active and everything. It cost me way more than I was expecting, but I do got my new phone. And I'm super happy about that. Though the activation and the fees on it was a bit much. Just one piece of fur attached to this. That's weird. Alrighty guys, with that I am going to end this stream once again. I do want to apologize for my last video saying that the Custodians suck. I still stand by that the Custodian Codex shouldn't be 40 pages. If not, I wanted more fluff, but that's just me. The rules in it, though I thought were bad at first, are more effective on tabletop than I imagined. So, I do want to apologize for that video. Sorry. My bad. Anyway, I want to thank Corvus for helping me out with questions and moderating the chat and everything. So, as always, I'm Alexis the Ego Queen. I love you guys. Bye.